Uh, Dear Chair of Scientific Board, dear Chair of Scientific Committee, dear members of Scientific Board, and dear members of Scientific Committee, and dear colleagues and friends, I would like to present you my habilitation lecture on the topic Application of Network Approach in Tourism Destination Research. I will present you the introduction. After that, I will talk about the current state of knowledge of application of network science in tourism. Then I will talk about the methodology, the contribution of the network approach in tourism destination research, which are the results. And I will conclude with limitations and implications for further research. To understand the tourism system is not easy, as due to the fragmented nature of tourism and its cross-sectoral character, it is very difficult to measure and analyze. Tourism destinations are focal points of tourism activity, and they are a very important unit of analysis. Although tourism destinations are considered by many authors differently, the majority of the authors stress that the tourism destination consists of a number of different components. From the supply side, there are stakeholders, and from the demand side, there are tourists. Among these components, there are several connections, which are dynamic, which are also nonlinear, resulting from the fact that there is no single cause-effect relationship between these connections, and they are open to the external environment. From this definition, we can say that tourism destinations are complex systems, as the properties cannot be derived by simply composing the behaviors and features of its components. The study of tourism as a system is not new. The mainly European authors focusing on German literature are well aware of the first model, Kaspar model of the tourism system, while the Anglo-Saxon literature, this one is dealing with the Leiper's tourism system, more focused on geography. As we said, that the tourism destinations are complex systems, we can say also that these complex systems can be described as networks of connected components. And in this way, the network science is probably the most important technique how to study these complex systems. The roots of the network science dates back to the 18th century. There are mathematical based, and the Swiss author Leonhard Euler solved the 7-bridge puzzle in the city of Königsberg. As we can see in the picture, the mathematical based roots of the network science are based on the graph theory, and it will present some graphs of the network analysis. But in the 20th century, also this network approach started to be applied also in social sciences, and social network analysis emerged. The application of network science in tourism research is relatively new. In the beginning of the 21st century, it was mainly from the qualitative point of view, as the authors started to study the aggregating or dyadic relationships. At present, also due to the technological development, the qualitative point of view is not the only one, and also the quantitative analysis of the system is gaining importance. So far, the application of network science in tourism have been focused on, for example, topological characterization of destination networks, also the identification of the most relevant actors on dealing with centrality measures. The authors also studied the innovation potential and knowledge transfer in the destination, and the most newest research also presented tourist mobility. However, we can say that the application of network science in tourism is so far rather fragmented, and the contribution is not complex. Therefore, the aim of the lecture is to comprehensively analyze the contribution of network approach in tourism destination research. To meet this aim, we addressed 3 research questions. So the first research question is, in which areas can the network approach be helpful in tourism destination research? The second research question, what are the managerial implications from the application of network approach in tourism destination research? And the last research question is, how can the further research of tourism destination benefit from the network approach? To move forward and to present you the results of this habilitation lecture, we can divide networks focusing on many criteria. For example, it is the network membership, geographical distribution, or nature of linkages, type of networks, type of exchange, or network morphology. We will deal with these criteria when we will present the results. So first of all, I would like to present you the supply-side networks based on cooperation. We have done the research on 6 tourism destinations, the 3 of which are from Slovakia. It's High Tatras, Liptov, and Central Slovakia. 2 of which are 3 of which are in Switzerland, the well-known destination Davos clusters, or St. Moritz, or Lucerne. As you can see from the graphs of the network analysis, we can see that, for example, in the Swiss conditions, the density of the network is much higher, for example, than in Slovak destinations. It can be also supported by the quantitative characteristics of network analysis. Here we have decided to use 2 quantitative characteristics. It is a density, which measures the proportion of the actual number of connections divided by the maximum number of connections. Also, the second measure is the clustering coefficient, which measures the tendency of the stakeholders to cooperate. We can, for example, compare these characteristics among these destinations. It is also recommended to compare the destinations which are in the same or similar stage of destination life cycle. On the other hand, we can also compare these characteristics, for example, with the networks with random distribution. And from this analysis, we can see that there is very low density in all the networks, and there is a low clusterization. Therefore, 2 implications arise. The first one is that the network analysis is capable of identification of weak connections in the networks or dealing with problems in cooperation. The second more managerial implication is that based on the network analysis of the network approach, it is possible to benchmark the destinations based on cooperations. Now I will present you the second types of networks, which are supply side, but they are based on leadership, not the cooperation. In this case, we have measured the tendency of the destination stakeholders to lead the destination. As you can see, there are 2 Slovak destinations, High Tatras and Liptov. And in this case, we use the retrospective network analysis. And we have decided to use 2 time periods. The first one is the year 1995, and the second one is 2015. In order to show you the most important quantitative characteristic, we have used the centrality measures, and these centrality measures are good to focus on the privileged positions of the actors. We can simplify this situation on the following graph. As you can see, this first situation represents the situation in both destinations in the year 1995. As we can see, the central position is the municipalities have the central position. So we can say that this type of destination is more community-based. While in the 2015, the situation changed as due to the one major stakeholder, which is very important. The core business started to gain more importance, and we can see that the situation is more close to the corporate-based model of the destination. So from this analysis, also two implications arise. The first one is that the network analysis is able to identify leaders and, for example, to strengthen the research of network leadership. The managerial implication is that the network approach can measure the change in the destination, and it is very important, for example, in the re-engineering processes in a destination, which are also in Slovakia or Czech Republic. We have also dealt with this issue in our research project we had 2 years before. Also, when we are discussing the supply side networks, we can measure the knowledge transfer in the destination. As you can see from this graph, there is the network based on knowledge transfer. In this case, the network is virtual because we measured the connections between the websites of the main stakeholders in the destination High Tatras. As you can see from this graph, the most important knowledge transfer is between the tourism association and the destination management organization. Also, we can support this by some characteristics. We slightly modified the centrality characteristics as this network is directed. In this case, we used in-degree centrality, closeness, betweenness, and left eigenvector centrality. And from these measures, we use the geometric mean to calculate the important index. Based on this analysis, we can see that the destination management organization is the most important subject in the knowledge transfer, and we can say that it is the hub because all the knowledge goes through these destination management organizations. On the second position, there is a tourism association, which can be regarded as a suprastructure organization. So it is focused on collective goods. So this is the first implications of the network approach. So it is able to identify the knowledge hub and, for example, suprastructure organizations. From the managerial perspective, the knowledge transfer is a prerequisite of innovation and competitiveness of a destination. Therefore, the managers of tourism destinations should focus more on knowledge transfer. Now I will present you the demand-side networks, which are created based on visitor flows. This is the situation also in the High Tatras, when we, based on the big data and some qualitative research, we have made this kind of a network. As you can see from the first picture, on the first graph, we can see the most important visitor flows in these destinations. They are also called the strategic visitor flows. On this right picture, these network flows are also linked with the destination stakeholders, and we can see where the most important destination stakeholders are. Also, we can support this graphical representation by some characteristics. We use in-degree, out-degree, and betweenness characteristics, and the characteristic of strongly connected components. We can say that the network approach is good for the identification of roles played by places. For example, the in-degree centrality is good to measure which places are popular. Therefore, also there is out-degree centrality, which is good for measure the departure points, and between centrality, for example, measures the most influential places. Also, the strongly connected components can define the boundaries of the destinations, and from the managerial point of view, when we have new boundaries, we can also engage new stakeholders. And the last network I will present you is a demand-side network based on time series. As we said, that the tourism destinations are complex systems and the relationships are non-linear. Also, the network approach can be used to transform the time series into networks. In this case, we use the horizontal visibility graph algorithm to transfer the time series into network. We have used the time series from the 24th December of 2019 to the 16th April of 2020. And we transformed this time series into the network. And when we use the modularity analysis, as you can see from this picture, this modularity analysis enables us to detect some groups that are most or more densely connected. And it is good for the identification, for example, of turning points in time. As you can see, based on this modularity analysis, we have identified 10 turning points. And it is also this approach good for better understanding of visitor flows. So to sum up the research and management implication and to give the answer on the first and the second research question, we can say that the network approach helps the tourism research to find, for example, the strength of connections between destination stakeholders. The network approach is capable of identification of leaders in a destination. It is good, for example, for finding of knowledge hubs to know which places are important, which places are departure points, or which places are, for example, the most attractive. And also it can be used to find the turning points in, for example, visitor behavior. To answer the second research questions, focusing more on managerial implications, for example, the network approach is capable of benchmarking these destinations. As we can see, it is good for re-engineering processes, as it is able to measure the changes in a destination structure. For also the diffusion of innovations are a prerequisite of the competitiveness of a tourism destination. The network approach can be used to find the boundaries of a destination and to understand of visitor flows. I have presented you all mostly the pros of this network approach, but also this approach has several limitations. The first limitation is the data collection, and it is very difficult to collect the data. The traditional methods of data collections, for example, surveys or archival records, give us the past and static data. It is very time-consuming, and for example, if we consider surveys, they are sometimes misleading because there is a high non-response rate. On the other hand, we can use the big data, as we used also in this research. However, there are some financial problems. So many destination management organizations are not capable of using this kind of data. Another limitation of this approach is data analysis and interpretation, as it is very difficult to analyze the data for destination managers, and it is very difficult for researchers to interpret the data. Therefore, it is recommended to create the innovation labs or research labs where the destination managers and for example, the researchers closely cooperate and analyze these kinds of data. And as we presented from the research, several implications for further research arise. The first implication is to use the new data sources, focus more on smart data, and in this case, we can use, for example, we can analyze the full networks. The second implications for further research is that so far mainly the tourism researchers analyze the static networks. However, in some fields, also the dynamic analysis of networks started to be used, for example, in the physics or in the neurobiology. And from this, for example, approaches, we can also benefit in tourism. And for example, we can use the diffusion models, as you can see in this picture. For example, we can simulate how, for example, the information will flow if we, for example, give the information only to the one node and how the information will be spread. Also, the last implication we have identified is the multidisciplinary approach in the research of tourism destinations using the network approach, and several other disciplines can help to strengthen the theory of destination research, for example, computer science, physics, sociology, or psychology. This is the bibliography I have used in the lecture, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, dear candidate. Thank you for the content you delivered. Also, thank you for keeping up the time limit. Dear ladies and gentlemen, let me inform you that, of course, we limited the candidate with the time, but he has more insight into his research results. And I would like to emphasize that some of the research results has been published up till now in most of the recognizable journals, international journals within our field, which represent, I'm glad to say, the international excellence in the field of tourism research. Just to be very concrete, those are the journals Tourism Management Perspectives, Tourism Economics, and Tourism Review, which are really the top in our field. So we hope that you keep up the good spirit and you continue with such a great dynamic. I'd like to also inform you that some of the most recognizable international authors refer to the pieces of work of the candidate. For the moment, he has 72 citations on Web of Science and Scopus, but some of them are really exceptional from one of the leading authorities in the field. Dear ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please save them for the later, as you will have the opportunity to raise the questions in the public discussion after the defense of the thesis. Just take a note in the sheets you have already received, and we will keep on continuously with another point, which is the defense of the habilitation thesis. So again, I turn to you, dear Tomáš, and I will ask you within 10 minutes to briefly present the outline of your habilitation thesis.
Thank you very much. Dear Chair of the Habilitation Committee, dear members of Scientific Board, dear members of Scientific Committee, I would like to present you my habilitation thesis, which is titled Smart Destination Governance, Technology and Design Perspectives. To slightly introduce the context of my habilitation thesis defense, I will start with a short introduction, then I will present you the tourism destination governance in a dynamic environment, which is the current state of knowledge. Then I will focus on research design and present you briefly the results and show you how, for example, the smart approach and the design perspectives can be good in designing new perspectives for smart destination governance. After that, I will present you theoretical and practical contribution of the habilitation thesis and sketch some limitations and implications for further research. So as we are now in a very complex and dynamic environment, also tourism destinations have to face several challenges. And for example, development in technology, climate change, and growing uncertainty are altering the common governance models. In this case, also the situation pushes forward the concept of smart destination governance, which is focused on the data, which are good, for example, for these data are the baseline for dealing with the stakeholders. As we can see that there are several challenges of destination governance. As we have identified, the technology, climate change, and crisis and uncertainty changes the tourist behavior. There is also a stronger competition among the destination, and there is also the need for flexibility and resilience. From these points, we can identify three main challenges that tourism destination have to face. These challenges is focusing more on tourists and their changing behavior. The second one is the identification of roles of destination management organizations in the network. And the third one is the intersection to find the intersection between demand and supply in the destinations. In this case, the smart destination governance can help to solve these challenges. For example, having the sufficient knowledge about tourists and their behavior can be very helpful for destination stakeholders. And in this case, we can use customer journey mapping as the design tool. The second challenge of establishing the role of DMO in a destination network is that the smart destination governance can help by more emphasizing the knowledge transfer. And the third challenge was finding the intersection between the destination demand and supply. And in this case, the role of big data is very important. Therefore, we have identified the main aim of the thesis, and it is to analyze the contribution of smart approach to overcome the challenges of tourism destination governance and to conceptualize the design-based perspectives of smart destination governance. We have conducted the research in Slovakia as a reference country, where we can see that Slovakia is very, very important, and it is a country where the information technologies are used at the average of the European Union countries. We have used secondary and primary data. The secondary data consists of, for example, internal material brochures, the citation of websites, and also we have used big data from present mobile positioning, and the survey data based on 5,975 tourists were used to identify the changes in tourism behavior. We have used cluster analysis, network analysis. In this case, we identified 5 research questions. The first one was, what are the possibilities of data collection of tourist behavior during the trip experience phases? The second one, how different segments of tourists respond to information technologies along their journey? The third one, what is the role of DMO in a destination network based on cooperation in marketing activities? The fourth one is the same, but the network is based on knowledge transfer. And the fifth one is, how can the smart data contribute to better finding the intersection of tourism demand and supply in a destination? To answer the first research questions dealing with the possibility of data collection, we have used the primary research. And as you can see, we have identified the several touch points where the tourists came during their journey. And from this analysis, we can see that the information technologies play an important role as touch points in a destination. As you can see, the significance, for example, of search engines, online travel agencies, hotel websites is very important, or destination websites. The second research question about dealing with the behavior of different tourist segments, we clustered those 5,900 tourists into segments based on technology use and acceptance, co-creating the tourism experiences and data sharing. We have identified 6 clusters, and we can say that the majority of tourists use information and communication technologies along their journeys. And the most important decisive factors are reviews, price, and authentic experience. The technology-savvy segments, those are the smart tourist recipients and compensators, behave also in a more sustainable way. The third research questions dealing with the role of destination management organization in the network based on cooperation revealed that in the case, for example, of the major destination, in this case it was the High Tatras, it is not the destination management organization which is the leading authority, as based on the important index, the Tourism Association is more important than the destination management organizations. If we compare this with the network based on knowledge transfer, I have also presented you earlier, we can say that DMO has the central position, and we can say also that the smart ecosystem challenges the role of a destination management organization towards more knowledge sharing. The fifth research questions dealing with the contribution of smart data to find the intersection of demand and supply. We have used the mobile positioning data from the area of High Tatras, as you can see in this map. And based on this data, we have identified strategic visitor flows and linked with destination stakeholders based on online geographical information systems. Based on the analysis, we have designed new perspectives for smart destination governance. The first perspective is dealing with designing tourist experiences based on data, as we have analyzed that the majority of tourists use information technologies. And from this point of view, for example, smart web portals, social media, mobile apps, and e-reputation management is good, for example, to co-create the tourism destination product, are good for strengthening the engagement. Also, the managers of destinations are able to react in real time, and also the loyalty of tourists is strengthened. The second new perspective is based on strengthening the collaborative designs through smart solutions, the identification of the strategic visitor flows, and the strategic business areas concerning the supply side characteristics, results in the identification of the most important touch points and stakeholders. And from this point of view, for example, we can use game elements to strengthen the cooperation. And finally, the third new perspective is the creation of the conceptual model of intelligent information systems for tourism destinations, where all of the information can be merged and can be used by all stakeholders. To follow up the theoretical and practical contribution of this thesis, we can say that from the theoretical point of view, the thesis clarifies the foundation of destination governance, comprehensively identifies the challenges of destination governance, strengthens the importance of network and design science in tourism destination research, and enriches the theory and experience design and destination design. From the practical point of view, destination managers could or should deal more with the smart approach in governing their destinations. In this way, it is very important to find the role of a destination management organization in a destination network, and this finding also can eliminate some barriers of cooperation that destination stakeholders have to face. To present the limitations and implications for further research, first of all, I have to say that the analysis was done only in one country, which is the major limitation of this study, and the first implication of further research arises is that it would be good to examine the situation in other destinations, other type of destinations, for example, also rural destinations or urban destinations, or destinations located in different countries and in different destination life cycles. The second limitation are the biases of questionnaire survey, as we already know that one thing is what respondents say, and the second one how he or she behaves. So the belief versus behavior, which can, for example, be used, or the new data can be used to strengthen the research, for example, data from mobile apps, sensors, search engines, smart cards, or, for example, wearables. Thank you for your attention.
So we thank you for the very rich insights. We are aware that it's very difficult to deliver the content in 10 minutes, so thank you very much. You did a good job. My dear members of the Habilitation Committee, now it's the time to incorporate our dear opponents into the discussion. So we have two opponents in the virtual space. That's our friend Anna from Bratislava and dear Harald from Germany. So if you, Professor Pechaner, agree, we follow the rule. Ladies first. So firstly, we will ask Associated Professor Anna Michalková, again from the Faculty of Commerce, University of Economics in Bratislava. Dear Anna, again, hello from Banská Bystrica. We would like to ask you kindly to present the main pieces of your assessment. You don't need to fully interpret, because we are aware and we are familiar with your report. Just focus on the most important pieces. And then we would like to ask you kindly to announce the final recommendation regarding the admission of the pedagogical and according to the awarding the title Associated Professor. And then please manage up the process of addressing your questions. Okay, you can ask the whole range of questions, or you can select some of the questions, and please manage the responsive of the candidate. If you agree with this procedure, my dear, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. First, I would like to say it's a pleasure and honor for me to be here And I would like to begin to introduce my assessment. Dynamic environment changes influence strong destination management organizations in Slovakia and also in other countries. Technology development, climate and social changes on the one hand mean a risk, on the other hand create challenges for better and more efficient solutions in the destination management system. Therefore, the topic of this habilitation thesis is current, looking for the better concept of smart destination governance, integrating the use of information on communication technologies and design principles in decision making, especially for tourists and stakeholders. The aim of the work as formulated in thesis is unique in the theoretical literature, and the focus on smart destination governance and in particular the possible solutions resulting from it are important for current practice. Regarding the used methods, the scientific aim of the thesis has already been mentioned. It is clearly defined, supported by 4 logically arranged partial aims and 5 research questions. The thesis uses primary and secondary data sources from Slovakia, and these obtained data were preceded by cluster analysis, to segment tourists into homogeneous groups, and network analysis to study the complex characteristics of High Tatras in terms of cooperation, leadership, knowledge transfer, and tourist mobility. The procedures and methods used in the work are clearly described and used correctly. Regarding the contribution of thesis, theoretical and practical contribution of this thesis are undeniable. The use of network science in tourism destination governance still has gaps, but it is especially important because of its ability to analyze complex processes. Design thinking in context of destination management is still unexplored, and the results of thesis enrich the theory of experience design and destination design. The practical contribution can be seen in encouraging destinations to smart approach in destination governance and implementing smart solutions by DMOs and also by tourism stakeholders in destinations. I consider the contribution of thesis in pointing out the main role of the DMOs, emphasizing cooperation, eliminating its barriers, and propose architecture of intelligent information system to be particularly important. Regarding the pedagogical, publishing, and research activities, according to the submitted documentation, Engineer Tomáš Gajdošík, PhD, is an experienced scientist with a clear scientific focus and profile. His activities focus on those professional topics which he also deals with in his habilitation thesis. It's tourism destination development, information technologies in tourism, and their use in data analysis. He elaborated these topics in valuable scientific works, as in leading or participating in many research projects and projects for practice. He also deals with these topics within his pedagogical activities. He met the minimum criteria for the habilitation procedure and in many points far exceeded it. I asked 3 questions. I would like to be answered. The second one, is it possible to skip or shorten the stages of building destination management in Slovakia or in comparable countries due to the need to build smart destination governance? Okay, I think the second question is okay. And on the basis of the submitted habilitation thesis, evaluation of publishing, scientific research, and pedagogical activities, I recommend the scientific board of the University of Matěj Bell to accept the thesis, and after the habilitation lecture and a discussion, to admit Engineer Tomáš Gajdošík, PhD, scientific and pedagogical title, Associate Professor in the field of habilitation proceedings, tourism. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank you for your very valuable insights from your opponent report. And if I may, I have the answer to the second research question, the second opponent question. There, no. I have prepared also the graphical visualization to better see. Oh, this is the first one, and the second one. I will. I will. So the question was, if it is possible to skip or shorten the stages of building destination management in Slovakia or in comparable countries due to the need to build smart destination governance. As you can see from the first table, here is the sketch of stages of building destination management in countries with developed tourism. They are mostly the Alpine countries. As we can see that the building phase started in 1960s, and nowadays they are in a more complex phase where the destination management organizations are at the third level. As we can see that this takes for 50 years to build the destination management in this kind of countries. And if we compare the situation in Slovakia or even in Czech Republic, we started to build the destination management after 1990s, where there was regional tourism organizations, and also in the beginning of the 21st century, the regional tourism organization also operated, but also tourism clusters started to be very important. And as in 2010, the Tourism Support Act came into act. So the destination marketing mainly organizations started to be in the tourism market. As we can see that in Slovakia we have only the 12 years to build this kind of destination management. So we have used some kind of shortcut, and it was supported by the top-down initiatives resulting from the Tourism Support Act. But however, this shortcut also brings that the cooperation between the destination stakeholders has many barriers. So there is a need, the time is needed to solve this kind of barriers. So on the one hand, it is possible to shorten the stage, but on the other hand, the mentality of the stakeholders have to be needs more time.
So dear Anna, let me ask you if you are happy with and satisfied with the answer or response of Tomáš, and on behalf of myself, let me thank you for your excellent job you completed as an opponent within this habilitation committee. We really appreciate your valuable feedback. So are you satisfied with the response of Tomáš?
Yes, of course, I'm satisfied, and thank you for excellent answer.
Thank you so much again for your support and your time. Please stay with us if you can afford it. Now, dear ladies and gentlemen, let me move to a second reviewer or opponent in our committee, which is our dear Professor Harald Pechlaner from Catholic University Eichstätt-Ingolstadt. So, my dear Harald, the floor is yours. Please introduce the main insights from your review, your opponent report, and as in the case of Anna, please manage the discussion with Tomáš.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Marakova, dear Wanda. Thank you very much also to colleague Anna Michalkova. I'm definitely in line with that what was presented by Dr. Michalkova. The topic of the habilitation thesis is an excellent one, since the author is first of all analyzing in detail the fundamentals of destination governance with special consideration of the technological and digital circumstances. Tomáš Gajdošík was talking in his habilitation about the so-called dynamic environment, creating a smart destination governance perspective, preparing step by step a smart approach in tourism destination governance. And this is new. This is a definitely new innovative contribution to the international scientific debate. The habilitation thesis is considering current issues in an intensive way, since the author combines the experience approach with the experience and service design approach. So especially at the end of his presentation, he was talking about the destination design. I will come back to that later. In other words, as I mentioned before, it is a very innovative and useful link to the smart tourism destination governance with the creative potential of the destination thinking approach. And I'm sure that Tomáš Gajdošík in the near future will contribute to the international discussion, also linking these issues. From the reviewer's perspective, in other words, this thesis is the first scientific debate connecting the technology and design perspective in, as I mentioned before, the context of the destination governance. The methodological competence of the author is clearly visible. It's about overcoming traditional boundaries of destination governance with the help of the smart approach. How can, and this is then also a very practical, more practical discussion, tourism managers have a better understanding of tourist behavior, and how can they create enough knowledge about tourists? Very practical questions designed in a complex empirical set composed by, as he mentioned, as primary and secondary data sources. But as Tomáš Gajdošík was telling us at the end of his presentation, one of the big challenges is the intersection of demand and offer side. And in other words, new big data will come over, and we need new sources of big data, and we have to integrate and connect them. I guess he clearly understood the challenging aspects and the problems we will face in the near future when we go to make destination research. No doubt that the thesis will have a theoretical and practical contribution. There is a clear focus on the research questions and the design of the empirical frame in order to give transparent answers. Very interesting and useful for further scientific discussions is the author's contribution to the just started debate on destination design, as I mentioned right before. Let me just, in a few words, underline the pedagogical competences of engineer Tomáš Gajdošík, PhD. They are well embedded. We saw all these pedagogical competences also in his very clear presentations right before. So embedded in his scientific interests on one way, and obviously in the research activities itself. There is visible a clear focus on his competences in the pedagogical documentation too. His publications are showing the high interest in international embeddedness, which is a high valuable contribution. And as I mentioned before, again, Tomáš Gajdošík is in line with traditions at the University of Mathieu Bell to be closely linked to international networks, not only in Europe. And Professor Marakova was telling us right before a couple of important journals where Tomáš and his colleagues published recently. One question I would be interested in, Tomáš, design thinking. You know that we started with destination management, destination planning, destination marketing, destination management. We moved in the past to governance, then to leadership, and ultimately to just recently to destination design approaches. You integrated these approaches also in your research. Thank you very much for that. So design thinking, that's one of my questions. Design thinking approaches are intensively working with qualitative research methods. It would be very interesting to know about possibilities of integrations or extensions of qualitative research approaches in that what you presented us right before. And based on this, and on the basis of the submitted documentation of the habilitation thesis, the evaluation of the published papers, the research and teaching activities, I recommend the scientific board of the University of Matebel to accept the thesis and after the habilitation lecture and discussion to admit Engineer Tomáš Gajdošík, PhD, based on his scientific and pedagogical skills and competences, the title Associate Professor in the field of habilitation proceedings tourism. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear professor. I really appreciate your valuable comments, and I'm happy that you liked my approach. So to go to answer your question. No. First one. The design thinking approaches are intensively working with qualitative research methods. It would be very interesting to know about the possibilities of integration or extension of qualitative research approaches. So, as we know that the design thinking is more customer-centered, it also uses non-linear rationalizing to find the right answers. I have identified two qualitative data or qualitative research methods which can design thinking enrich. The first one is the collaborative visual ethnography. So as we know that we use ethnography when we are researching tourism, but this kind of method is capable using visuals as, for example, photos or videos in a more collaborative way where the researchers and participants work together to identify, explore, and share thoughts on a single problem. These visuals can be further analyzed, for example, using content analysis and some softwares, and some composite images are built as a prototype to represent the analyzed phenomena. So this is the first qualitative research method. And the second one I have identified is a visual network analysis. It is not the same network analysis I have presented to you before. It is more focused on the visual side of the networks. In this case, no quantitative characteristics are used, but some layout of the network is used. And from this layout, you can see some clusters. And these clusters or these topological forms represent some very useful insights to the research of destination design.
Dear Professor Pekaner, I need to firstly thank you for your valuable expert opinion and your excellent work as an opponent in this habilitation committee. And secondly, ask you with regards to the Tomáš addressing your question about design, destination design. Are you happy and satisfied, or you would like to add something to what was just said?
No, thank you very much, Professor Marakova. I'm absolutely happy with the answer of Tomáš Gajdošík. And I guess, Tomáš, that this will be an interesting future, let me say, development in the research discussion. So go ahead also with that ideas, connecting your competences and your experiences with using data, big data on one hand, and on the other hand, the qualitative approaches. I guess when you talk about multidisciplinary, then it is also about connecting different methods and different quantitative and qualitative research methods. Thank you very much. I'm absolutely satisfied.
Thank you very much.
Dear Professor Pekmaner, if you are happy, we are delighted. I hope the next days bring you some more happiness into your life, as the great event is awaiting us. Thank you again for your participation. We really appreciate your time and energy you invested into making this event successful, and we really are very pleased with your expertise. Thank you very much for your expert opinion. Thank you. And wishing you a pleasant day. Please stay with us if you can. My dear participants, let me inform you that the third opponent working in the committee is our Professor Janka Kučerova, philosophy doctor. From obvious reasons, she cannot be with us today. Although she is sending you many regards, I will now quote from her report, which she delivered on time in printed and electronic format. The selected topic of the habilitation thesis is highly actual. A comprehensive elaboration of theoretical concepts of management of tourist destination, smart tourism, and their mutual interactions represent great contribution of the work, not only in the theoretical, but also in the empirical level. I highly appreciate the application of appropriate quantitative research methods. The publication outputs of the applicant prove a high level of his publishing activity in international scientific journals and renewed publishing houses. He's active in a scientific research project and is also involved in applicational projects for tourism industry. On the basis of the submitted documents, the quality of the elaboration of the habilitation thesis, and based on the assessment of exceeding the criteria to be entitled the academic title of Associate Professor, I propose to admit Engineer Tomáš Gajdošík, Philosophy Doctor, the title Associate Professor of Tourism and Economics and Management. So, of tourism in economics and management. So this is one element or one part taken from Professor Jana Kučerova report. Now I'd like to really conclude the part of opponents' report, my dears. So let's shift to a public discussion. Now is the open up space for you in the hall, or also those participants which are present in the virtual space. You can raise your questions with regards to either the habilitation lecture, but also regarding the habilitation thesis that were just presented. So don't hesitate. You can also use the sheet you have received from Mrs. Balazsova by registering for the event. Please take the note of your question, and you are more than welcome to contribute to this discussion. So now I open up the discussion. Any questions here from the present audience? Of course, this opportunity is also accurate for the participants which are in the virtual space joining us online. So by raising the hand, anybody can contribute to further scientific discussion of the topic. For the moment, there are no hands up, but we have one hand up in the hall. Associated Professor Janka Petrovic, I would like to contribute to the discussion. Janka, please ask your question.
Thank you very much. I really liked the presentation and overall discussion, especially the last part. I know that now there's a trend of big data and all those lot of quantitative approaches are present everywhere, and I really like that question that was raised about qualitative research techniques, and I wanted to ask Tomáš if he also considered maybe grounded theory as a qualitative approach, and maybe how and in which field in which part of his research he would apply or might apply such approach.
Thank you very much. So grounded theory is well-established qualitative research methodology, and in this case also the grounded theory we're dealing with the participant observation, and we're dealing with the building up the theory based on the qualitative approaches is very important also in the destination research. So from this point of view, yes, it is very important. As you can say, that on the one hand, there is the big data which can say something. There are big data because there is a lot of data, but the qualitative approaches can give us more insights into what the tourists or what the local inhabitants feel, how do they react. So Also, as the Professor Peklaner said, it is very good to merge both of these kind of quantitative and qualitative research methods and to build up a more stronger research theory on destination governance or both destination research. So yes, I would like to use this, but it is very time-consuming, and you have to be in the destination and to study those relationships, to study in depth the respondents. So it is very complicated, but on the other hand, it provides very useful insights to the theory of destination design, destination governance, and the overall destination research. So thank you. I will consider to use it in the further research.
Thank you very much. It's in line with what I think about the combination of the data, like quantitative data, with the insights that provide more detailed insights about the topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Janka, for your question. We have another question from the audience. Dear Professor Zimkova, Vice Dean of the Faculty of Economics, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. First of all, really, I would like to say that I have enjoyed your lecture very much. It was really great to listen to your multidisciplinary research, and really, it was very, very, very topical lecture today. You mentioned in your habilitation thesis lecture being in the part of smart solutions, the game elements to strengthen cooperation. So which game elements to strengthen cooperation should be used in future?
Thank you very much. Yes, it is very, very interesting part of this designing new perspectives for smart destination governance. In some destinations, as I have met some researchers in the IES conference 2 years before, in the Vienna, they created the game for the stakeholders. It is the combination of actual game which is played at present with some online features. So it is this kind of game element is used to bring together the stakeholders, and they have several roles in this game. They play as they throw the darts, and they go on this kind of sections, and they act as they are, for example, hotel managers. There are policy planners, urban planners, and in this case, they change their ideas. They focus more, for example, on what other things, and try to reach the consensus. So this kind of getting the stakeholders in one room to talk together, but not on the formal style, but while playing a game, is a new approach how to strengthen the collaboration in this kind of destinations.
Thank you very much. I fully agree. The only communication can solve the problem. It's the crucial one. Thank you very much.
Professor Zimkova, we really appreciate your supportive words and also your very accurate questions. Thank you so much. We're happy with the answer, I understood. Are there any more questions, my dear participants? In the aula or in online space, we don't see any raised hands until now. Maybe dear Professor Peklaner would like to discuss some more. Dear Professor Peklaner, you can, but you don't need to. I see you are happy as you are. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the last call for questions. It seems that yes, Professor Gucik, please take a microphone.
Thank you very much. Can I say some words in Slovak?
Of course.
Cestovný ruch je veľký globalizátor. Nielen podlieha globalizácii, ale aj sám ju urýchli. V posledných dvoch dekádach sa toho svedkom aj u nás, na Slovensku. Globalizácia ako urýchľovač, ale zároveň aj nevyhnutnosť globalizácie uspieť znamená byť konkurencieschopný. Tie momenty, o ktorých tu hovoril Tomáš, smerujú k jednomu uspokojovaniu návštevníkov, byť konkurencieschopný na trhu a dosiahnuť udržateľný rozvoj. Tá teória je veľmi užitočná ak ju prenesieme do praxe. U nás v priebehu času vzniklo 38 oblastných organizácií cestovného ruchu. Povedal by som skôr keď sa tvorili, to bol politický cieľ a nesledoval presadzovanie tých zámerov konkurencieschopnosti a udržateľnosti v praxi. Ja sa veľmi teším, že na našej katedre sa Tomáš ujal tieto myšlienky a cez svoju publikačnú činnosť preukázal, že vie pracovať s touto myšlienkou a že bude pracovať aj na tom, aby sme raz dosiahli zlepšenie predstavu, ktorý je na Slovensku. Ten zákon, ktorý my máme 91, treba skutočne prispôsobiť budúcnosti cestovného na Slovensku z hľadiska udržateľného rozvoja. Ja sa teším, že Tomáš sa dostal k tomuto dnešnému cieľu a verím, že bude obrovským prínosom nielen pre rozvoj teórie cestovného ruchu, pretože v tom vidím novú paradigmu, ale aj pre prax, pretože mala by tu byť nejaká rovnováha medzi teóriou a praxou. Ja mu želám všetko dobré a teším sa, že úspechu. Ďakujem.
Ďakujeme, pán profesor, za váš vstup do diskusie, za svoje cenné komentáre. Maybe just for our dear Professor Pekhaner briefly summarize, so it was a speech which has supported the candidate, Professor Gučík, underlined the connections between the globalization, rising pressure on competitiveness on tourist destination and the future need for sustainability development, the change in the paradigm of how we understand the sustainable and responsible tourism development for the future. And Professor Gučík also emphasized the importance of transfer of knowledge from theory into the practice, and he positioned this idea by current situation of Tourism Support Act in Slovakia, which we have, which created a lot of DMOs, and the system needs to be integrated and re-engineered. So, and of course, as I said in the beginning, the professor had some or addressed some supportive words to Tomáš. So just to briefly inform you, so you are not out of the discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my dear participants. It seems like the discussion is over. Now I would like to thank you to all, to the members of the Scientific Board of the Faculty of Economics, but also to our guests who came to support the candidate, mainly from the Department of Tourism. Thank you for your coming. Being present on both parts, on the lecture, but also on the defense of the thesis. Now it's my duty to end up the official part of the procedure. The habilitation committee will move, and we will have let's call it a secret meeting. We will vote, and after a short break, which the dear dean of the faculty assigns for 10-15 minutes. 15 minutes. We will meet up again to officially announce the result of the voting. So thank you very much for your participation.
I would also like to thank very much for your supportive words, for being here, and for the Habilitation Committee for the work it has done so far. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and we meet up in 15 minutes. That's to say 10:45 we meet again in this hall. Thank you, dear opponents, for being present with us. Dear Anna, dear Harald, many greetings from all the team of Banská Bystrica, and we meet up again in 15 minutes to announce the official results of the voting.